Pineal Peptides, EDR and Epitalon, Sleep, Melatonin, and the Aging Brain. Welcome back to OXYZEN Health Intelligence. Today we continue our Peptide Bioregulator series by stepping into one of the more confusing and controversial corners of the field. Pineal Peptides, a tangle of names and claims that includes Epitalon, EDR, often marketed as Pinealon, pineal extracts and their putative effects on melatonin, REM sleep, and the aging brain. Let's begin with the pineal gland itself. The pineal is a tiny, pine-cone-shaped structure tucked deep in the center of the brain. It's unassuming in size, but it plays an outsized role in telling the body when night begins. The pineal secretes melatonin, a hormone that functions less like a sedative and more like a calendar and a clock. It signals darkness, helping to entrain the circadian rhythm that coordinates sleep-wake cycles, metabolic timing, and many downstream physiological processes. As we age, the amplitude and precision of melatonin rhythms often decline. Nights can feel shorter, sleep becomes lighter and more fragmented, and early awakenings or a shift toward morningness become more common. In plain terms, the biological clock can grow noisier and weaker with time. This decline is exactly why pineal-related peptides attract attention. If you could influence the pineal or the molecular signals it produces, could you restore stronger nighttime signaling, improve sleep architecture, or protect neural tissue from age-related stress? That is the intellectual hook behind research on Epitalon and related peptides, but it is critical to separate hypotheses and promising animal or cell studies from established clinical practice. Epitalon is a synthetic tetrapeptide that has appeared in preclinical experiments and a handful of small human-related studies. Researchers have reported effects on melatonin regulation in some models, modulation of gene expression, reduced oxidative markers, and impacts on cellular markers associated with aging. Those findings are intriguing and invite more study, but they do not amount to proof that Epitalon reliably improves sleep, reverses aging, or restores cognitive function in people. Epitalon is not an approved anti-aging therapy or an established treatment for insomnia. It remains investigational. The naming around EDR and Pinealon creates more confusion. EDR, sometimes called Pinealon in commercial context, is typically described in the literature as a short tripeptide with neuroprotective properties. Studies in cell cultures and animal models suggest effects on neuronal gene expression, dendritic structure, oxidative stress resilience, and models of neurodegeneration. Those mechanisms, promoting neuronal survival pathways, reducing oxidative damage, modulating plasticity-related genes, make EDR an appealing subject for brain aging research. But once again, results in model systems are not the same as consistent, replicated clinical benefit in humans. Why do people talk so much about these peptides in sleep? The answer is partly anecdote. Users often report altered dream intensity, changes in REM sleep, deeper or more restorative sleep, or conversely, sleep disruption. These reports are real as experiences, but they are not controlled evidence. Consumer sleep devices, rings, watches, and apps can provide useful longitudinal signals, yet they infer sleep stages from movement and peripheral physiology and cannot replace polysomnography, the laboratory gold standard that measures brainwaves directly. So a device that reports increased REM after a peptide intervention may be reflecting true physiological change, a measurement artifact, or unrelated lifestyle shifts. The biological plausibility for sleep changes exists. Sleep architecture and REM are regulated by a complex interplay of neurotransmitters and modulators: acetylcholine, serotonin, norepinephrine, dopamine, GABA, adenosine, as well as circadian timing signals and homeostatic sleep pressure. Inflammation, oxidative stress, metabolic state, medications, alcohol, and psychological stress all feed into the system. A peptide that affects neuronal signaling, oxidative stress pathways, or melatonin synthesis could plausibly shift sleep patterns or dream vividness. Plausible is important, but it is not the same as proven or predictable. Cognitive claims follow a similar pattern. Some people taking EDR-like peptides report reduced brain fog, clearer thinking, or improved memory. Laboratory studies have found neuroprotective effects in models of Alzheimer's disease, oxidative injury, and aging. But neuroprotection under experimental stressors or in damaged tissue does not guarantee cognitive enhancement in healthy individuals. A compound that prevents cell death in a petri dish is not automatically a safe and effective nootropic when taken chronically by people. We must also emphasize safety and context. The brain integrates mood, motivation, reward, sleep, and cognition. Perturbing one axis can ripple into another. Personal experimentation with unapproved peptides carries risk, especially when sourcing materials from unregulated suppliers, self-dosing without medical guidance, or combining peptides with psychoactive drugs, hormonal therapies, or prescription sleep or psychiatric medications. Manufacturing variability, contamination, and inaccurate labeling are real and documented issues in gray market products. Stepping back, the broader scientific idea motivating this work is worth highlighting. Aging may involve erosion of regulatory signals and shifts in gene expression that compromise tissue function. Some peptide bioregulator proponents suggest that small peptides can help restore youthful patterns of regulation, and particularly in endocrine and neuronal systems. That is an exciting hypothesis and one that could inform future therapeutics. But the path from hypothesis to safe, validated medicine requires replication, independent clinical trials, long-term safety monitoring, standardized manufacturing, and defined indications. At present, the most reliable, evidence-based strategies for preserving sleep quality and cognitive resilience remain the basics. Bright morning light exposure to anchor circadian timing, consistent sleep schedules, regular physical activity, metabolic health and weight management, stress reduction practices, a nutritious diet, limiting evening light and stimulants, and prioritizing recovery. These interventions have robust, reproducible benefits across large populations and are the foundation upon which any supplementary experimental approaches should be considered. Peptides like Epitalon and EDR may one day become part of a more refined toolkit for aging and neuroprotection, but we are not there yet. For now, treat these compounds as research tools and investigational agents rather than established therapies. Proceed with caution, demand high-quality evidence, and prioritize safety and regulation. I'm Dr. Yende, this is OXYZEN Health Intelligence. In the final episode of this series, we'll explore thymic peptides, immunity, safety concerns, regulatory pitfalls, gray market risks, and what a responsible future for peptide medicine should look like.